Hi, welcome to the You Do You Babe podcast. I'm so excited you stopped by. My name is Cathy Michaels and I'll be hosting the show. I was wondering, have you ever had something happen in your life that left you thinking, now what am I going to do? Well, I did. And not only was I thinking, what am I going to do? It went deeper and had me thinking, who am I really? That's when I decided to start this self-love adventure. I turned inward, working to become a better, healthier, and more confident version of myself, and I've never felt better. I guess the saying's true, everything happens for a reason. So I would love for you to join me as I continue my journey where I'll discuss the things I've learned, experiences I've had, mistakes I've made, and there were quite a few, but more importantly, the breakthroughs I've discovered. We are what we experience, and everyone's experience and perception is different. So please share what's going on in your life too, because after all, we need each other, and together we're better. All right, babes, enjoy the next episode, and we'll talk soon. Hey babes, welcome back to another episode of You Do You Babe podcast. Thanks for joining me. I hope everybody's enjoying my episodes. I'm having fun doing them. Last week I spoke about my 3 therapists, right? I mentioned that I go to 3 therapists. I forgot to mention one. I was having such technical difficulty with the setup that I I must have recorded like 20 times and then I just said, screw it. I'm just sending it in. And I said, oh, geez, I forgot to talk about my 3rd therapist, which is fine because it's a whole nother episode. If you're watching me on YouTube today, I'm in my natural beauty element here. I have no makeup on. My hair is pulled back. I'm just having an emotional few days. This journey is exhausting, especially when you start going deep within to figure out where the root of the problems come from. And I'm also currently going through a divorce. So it's a lot of just head games, So, yeah, I'm just not feeling myself. Okay. Still smiling though. And I know ultimately everything's going to be fine. It's just that I always feel like I take a few steps forward to go, 10 steps backwards. So it's frustrating, but I'll get through it and everything's going to be fine. So, anyway, I wanted to talk about my 3rd therapist. So, I'm currently working on inner child healing. Okay, I'm sure you see a lot about it on social media. What is inner child healing? What does that mean? So basically, most people probably have inner child wounds or trauma. And basically, it's at any stage of your life. You could have multiple situations at multiple stages of your life, but it's basically where you just don't develop properly because of this trauma that happened when you were younger, right? So I'm doing all this, I'm doing this workbook, I'm doing, reading and going on social media, looking up, things about inner child healing. And it's just a lot, right? So, part of inner child healing is like meditation, journaling, breath work, collecting stuff, just like stuff that you would like to do as a child, even. And it's just, it's a lot. It's a lot, right? So, I wanted to tap into another source and figure out what else could help me repair my inner child. Okay. So I was talking to a friend of mine who mentioned this spiritualist, I guess, who does inner child healing. Her name is Sunshine, and she truly is a ray of sunshine. And I really did enjoy meeting her a couple of weeks ago. And I went to her house, and we went to this nice room, and I gave her the abridged version of my life. And then I laid down on this like massage table. She covered me with a nice blanket. She covered my eyes. And then we started like a guided meditation where she brought me to like one of my favorite places, which is the beach, where my inner child was there playing. And I fully envisioned me as a little girl. I think like I envisioned me like as like the first grader version or the second grade version of myself where I had long brown hair and bangs, and I was just tan, and I had these big, beautiful blue eyes. And I don't know the significance of this, but we were wearing pearls. I mean, who wears pearls at the beach? I have no idea. But for some reason, we were wearing pearls. I'm not sure of the significance of that. But, we went through this whole like guided meditation where I would talk to my inner child. She would talk back to me, and we were having fun. And, we did a lot of affirmations and apology. Then eventually we went for a walk on the beach. And then my mother joined us. And my mother's been gone for 16 years now, okay, in July. So she also joined us. And again, she apologized, and I forgave her, and she was proud of me. She was telling me for, doing what was right for me, something that she can never do. So, growing up in my house, my mom, I love my mother, and nobody's perfect, and you know, being a parent, you don't come with instruction, the kids don't come with instruction manuals. You do the best you can. You do with what you learned, right? Like you watch your own parents, how they were parenting, and we all try and take the good and obviously enhance that. And we also try to not do what we didn't like what our parents did, right? When we were growing up. So we try and do things just a little differently. But my mom, and like I said, I know she loved me, because sometimes I kind of feel like I was her favorite. But she would yell a lot, right? She was a good person, but she would just yell a lot. She ruled with an iron fist, okay? She came from a German mother who came right off the boat from Italy, and that's how she was. My grandmother was just like that. So she learned, from her mother. And, my mom, like I said, she would yell a lot. Now, I know my dad was hard of hearing, so I thought she was just yelling because he couldn't really hear. Then I also thought I'm one of 5 kids, so I thought she was yelling because she was just aggravated all the time because, she was going in 10 different directions with 5 kids, and, she always had to have dinner on the table, and she always had to like do whatever. She was the mom, right? And a housewife. So she was always running in different directions. And I'm sure at times it was just freaking aggravating, okay? And, dealing with all of us and our different personalities. So, like I said, I'm one of 5. My sister was 12 years older than me. My brother is 11. My other brother is 6 years older than me. And my other brother is 3 years older than me. I'm the youngest, okay? So I'm 46. And, I would always hang out with my sister and her boyfriend, who she ended up marrying. And funny, I would always tease them, and I would, while we were out, like they would take me out with them, and I would call them mom and dad, and people would look at them like, oh my God, a childhood pregnancy or whatever. I just like to tease and have fun. But I was a good girl. I really was. I didn't say much. I did not want my mom yelling at me. Like that was my goal. I learned that very young because she was always yelling, and I did not want to be yelled at. I did not want to piss that woman off. So I always just retreated to my room, and I was very quiet. My brothers teased me. One time, my brother would chase me around with a live lobster, and on Christmas Eve, like that's aggravating to my mother, and of course, it was upsetting to me. I mean, they would just do things, silly. Now I laugh at the things that they did, but then I was just like, one time, they mooned the camera. Like I was just like, oh my God, I was just like in such shock and disbelief, when I was little. But I would retreat back to my room, play with my Barbie dolls. I played the piano, and I remember I used to play with Matchbox cars a lot. And nowadays they have like the carpet that has the roads and the buildings. I used to make my own roads. I would take the crayons and anything, and I would build like a whole little neighborhood and drive my Matchbox cars through there. So that's what I did, but I was always very quiet. I really didn't say much, until I got older. I remember one time, I don't know, my mom was yelling at me. First, I was a teenager, 15, 16, 17, around there. My mom was yelling at me. First, I wouldn't get off the phone or something like that. And I just gave her an attitude. And then I went down to my father and I said, can't you do something about her? Like, why does she always have to yell at me? Blah, 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 blah. And I would say all that kind of stuff. Well, I didn't know she was right behind me. I turn around, whack, right across the face. She smacked me so hard. And she said, don't you ever go to your father. I'm the one who takes care of you kids. You come to me. I was like, oh, shit. So whatever. I still love her to death. Still love her to death. Okay, so fast forward. All right. So now we know I have these issues going on. I didn't realize that, oh, and my parents, they weren't very lovey-dovey. They weren't affectionate, right? They weren't, they didn't do PDA. I mean, we weren't lovey-dovey. We didn't come into the house and like give each other hugs and kisses. We didn't say I love you. Like this is not how I grew up. And honestly, it's something that I realized I want so badly in my next relationship. I want to say I love you. I want to hug and kiss. I don't care where we are. I want that attention. I want that affection. I want it for myself and I want to give it. I'm excited for that in my next relationship because that's not something that I had in my last relationship. Now, I thought it was because I got together with him at 15, we married at 21. So I just thought I never really developed into the woman I should have. But that's not the case. It's really this inner child wounds that went on, or nothing went on really, just yelling and no, showing of love and affection. Now I knew they loved me. I'm not saying that at all. I'm not saying my parents didn't love me and I loved them. It's just that wasn't something that they showed. Okay. I always had nice things. That was a way that they showed. My mom always made beautiful meals. The house was always kept nice. Like that was the way they showed love, gifts, but that's not what I want. I'm just different. My sister, she was very loving. She showed me lots of love. When I was younger, we had a little rift in the middle and then we came back together. But yeah, it was just something that was missing in my house. Okay. And it doesn't make it a bad house. It was just that for me, what I need is that. And what I realized is when I got married, I married someone who also didn't have that in their house. And, it just then became part of my house. Now, luckily, my son and my daughter are more affectionate than my ex and I were. So like my son just loves hugs and my daughter is, getting better at it. But they're together as siblings, they're wonderful. And hopefully, they'll be different when they have a household and they'll have a loving, showing affection, showing all that in their house. It's really important. And, it's something that I need and it's something that I want and I crave. So I did realize that during this inner child healing process, like I said, I always thought it was something because I was 15 and I didn't really grow into the woman I should have, but that's really not the case. Now, I'm learning more as to why. Now my mom's gone, so I can't really ask her now, but this is an interesting story. I learned 2 years ago. So I'll tell you this story. So my kids, one year, my daughter was arguing with my son, asking who's more Italian, okay? And so for Christmas one year, I got DNA testing, okay, to see who, I think it was called My Heritage, something like that, to see who's more Italian. I didn't realize it linked up with other people, right? So my son sends in his test, my daughter sends in hers, I send in mine. My ex didn't want to do it, so I was like, okay, whatever. So my son's come back first, right? And it shows his nationality, but it links these other. It's just like Ancestry, right? I didn't, or whatever, 21andMe, whatever all those things are. So it links up to other people. I didn't realize it did that. So there's this guy, linking up to my son, and it said it could be like a half brother, a half uncle, a half this or half that. So I said to my ex at the time, wow, your family has some explaining to do. There's this guy on here, okay? And then I'm like, maybe it's a mistake. So my daughter's comes back. Again, same guy, right, on the thing. And I'm like, oh, boy. Daddy's family has some explaining to do. I don't know. Then my test comes back and the same guy is linked to me, right? I'm not one to stick my head in the sand, but this time I decided I don't want to know. So I stuck my head in the sand and I ignored that guy in the corner that says he's a half brother. So I ignored it. And eventually it was like February. It was like around Valentine's Day, February 2020, 2019, 2019, 2020. No, it was 2020 because then COVID comes out, right? Like a few months later or a month later. So they reach out to me and he's trying to find his mother. So he was assuming that my mother was his mother, yada, yada, yada. I said no. I was very, very rude. I felt really, really bad. But I was like, no, you're wrong. Sorry. You know, like this is wrong. Then I decided to get a different DNA kit. And I did another test. I made sure the lab was a separate lab because, you know, there's always room for human error, right? So I make sure that this lab was different. The test comes back, and now there's more people who I'm now related to. So I call my mom's best friend, okay? My mom's secret keeper, right? Because your best friend, they don't spill the beans. Unfortunately, my mom's best friend died. I feel really bad. My Aunt Kay. I was named after her. Okay, she's my namesake. And she had passed away. And they tried to reach me, but I had changed my phone number and they just couldn't get a hold of me. So I missed all of that. But I spoke to her daughter. And her daughter, I told her, and she said, we were waiting for you to call. So I just get the chills. So what I learned is that I am a love child. I am my mother got pregnant with another person, and the man who raised me is not my biological father. I learned this 2 years ago, and well, now it's 3 years ago, and or 4 years ago. It's a long time now, but no, 3 years ago. So I learned everything about my mom, and I still love her. I still have her on this pedestal, even though what she showed me, she stayed in a marriage that wasn't loving, wasn't, you know, for her. And she stayed anyway. And that's why when I went to see this, I'm going to get emotional. When I went to see the spiritualist and my mom was there, that's why she was saying she was proud of me because I was able to walk away from a marriage when she couldn't, okay? And she didn't, and she wouldn't. So it was a very, the therapy with this lady was I didn't realize it was long. It was a 2-hour long session, and it was very deep. It was very emotional, but it was very, very beautiful. And, you know, I had a lovely conversation with my mom. And I just feel bad, you know, as a woman. I just feel bad. You know, and it's not like she wasn't always not happy in the relationship, in her marriage, okay? But obviously, there was something not right, and she stepped out of the marriage. And the thing is, because that happened in my marriage, I feel like I married my mother, somebody like my mother. They're very similar. And I feel like I should be mad at my mom, but I'm not because I'm the product of love, right? I wouldn't be here. And I just wish she was strong enough to stand up for herself and do what she felt was right. I mean, I guess she did what she felt was right. She stayed in a marriage. I don't really know the dynamics of the marriage because, like I said, they didn't really show a lot of love and affection, and maybe this is why. But they weren't mean to each other, my father and my mother. So, but from what I understand, this is, she always remained in contact with my biological father. And there was just something about him that she couldn't resist. And I don't know if, I don't know. If she's not here, I can't ask her. My biological father's not here. I can't ask him. I did meet my, new siblings, and they're all lovely. And, but now it makes sense to me why there wasn't a lot of love and affection when I was growing up. There had to have been something at some point, right? In some point in time with my parents. But I guess, when I came around, maybe there was something going on. I don't know. I do not know. The funny thing is, when my mom was dying, she showed me this picture of this man, and I just thought she was telling me she had an affair with somebody like when I was like a teenager. But then when the person, my half brother, reached out to me to tell me we were related, he also showed the same picture. I'm like, I've seen that picture before. And, that's my biological father. So it definitely threw me for a loop. I feel like I handled it okay. But now that I'm doing this inner child healing, it makes sense. Some of the things, some of the ways my mom acted. And I'm not blaming her. I'm not. She did the best she could. She did what she knew how to do it. You know what I mean? Like, she didn't know any better, I guess. And, I just feel bad. I feel bad that it was something she kept to herself all these years. She tried to tell me when she died. And I just feel that everybody deserves to have that special. I'm sorry that I'm so emotional. But I just feel that everybody deserves to have that special love, that true love that makes you feel like you're floating. The love that gives you butterflies every day. That's what I want for me. And I want that for everybody. Everybody. And I'm learning this through all of my inner child healing. So I'm not sure if you want to do this, because you do dig deep and it gets very emotional. And you learn a lot. And now you got to figure out how to process everything and how to deal with everything. So anyway, so when she was saying she was proud of me, now I understand, it all clicked. I understand because, when my ex came home and told me he wasn't happy, I wasn't dealing with it anymore. My kids were old enough, and I said, you know what? I deserve so much better. And again, we have happy memories. I'm not saying that we don't. But I deserve somebody who wants to work with me, who wants to, you know, grow with me and feel the way I feel. And everybody deserves that, you know. So, yeah. So that's inner child healing. Again, when all of this started, before I got into this therapy, I just thought it was because I was young and I didn't really fully grow into the woman I should have grown into. But really, it all comes down to this inner child trauma. And it's a lot. It's intense. It's intense. But I'm glad I'm going through it. It makes a lot of sense to me. Luckily, I am a very forgiving person. I'm an understanding person. Unless really like, stab me in the back, that I'm not forgiving and I'm not nice. I mean, don't get me wrong, I have my bitchy side. But as I'm going through this, I'm definitely softer. I definitely want to be the change that I want to see in this world. And I'm definitely kind. I've made mistakes. I'm not saying I'm perfect. I'm not, but I'm really working towards a certain way how I want to be. And it comes easy for me to be this way, you know? So that's it. I mean, that's the inner child, therapy, healing. It's going to be a lot. It's not like one and done. I'll be revisiting this therapist, monthly. And, I'll still be working with my regular therapist and the life coach. And it's a lot of work, but I feel like I need to do this in order to be in a healthy, loving, like truly loving relationship. Not like, like deep love. At least I know what I want. At least I'm not here going, I don't know. I don't know what I want, scratching my head. I know what I want. I know what I deserve. I know what I can give, and I'm excited for that. But yeah, I'm glad I'm doing this. So sorry for getting emotional. It's just emotional. And thank you for listening. And I can't wait for next week's video. I'm excited. I'll be talking about journaling, and I'll have my friend here who is an independent author. And we're going to talk about writing and all that good stuff. So thank you again for listening. I hope everybody has a fantastic week, and keep doing you. And we'll talk soon. Bye.